Hey guys, I absolutely love this podcast I did with Kyler today. He's only 23 and he has built multiple seven-figure companies. We talk about his sniper focus he has and how you can turn limiting beliefs into limitless beliefs. We de-cliche that. But before we get started though, take 60 seconds to listen to this intro.
If you hit an oak tree 1,000 times in 1,000 different spots, what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. But if you hit an oak tree 1,000 times in the exact same spot, you know what's going to happen? You're going to bring it down. You're going to do the impossible.
People put out goals, dreams, and aspirations and what they want to accomplish, but you very rarely hear people say what they're willing to sacrifice in order to make it happen. They'll tell you the goal, the dream, the aspiration. They'll tell you they want to be great, but they're not going to say, I'm going to stop going out on Friday night. They're not going to say, I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to stay late.
I don't hang with people who can only get up when they got something to motivate them. That's not somebody I want to hang out with. I want to hang with somebody, I don't care what the circumstances, I don't care what the situation. You put it on your back and you like, let's go. But you hear me? You gotta have that dog.
What's up guys? Hey, we're here with Kyler. What's up, Austin?
Hey buddy, how's it going? Kyler, man, we appreciate you hopping on with us today.
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah, so hey Kyler, I know I had lunch with you the other day. Man, let's just start off. I need you to, brag about yourself. Tell us about yourself so people can kind of hear what you got going on and what all are you doing.
Yeah, for sure. An eighth grade dropout to quick 4-year success. So there's a lot that goes on in my life for sure since I started the entrepreneur world. But I always go back to when I was 13, 14 years old. When I dropped out of school, I've always been that entrepreneur that's always looking for the next thing, chasing money, what's the next dollar, what's, money that I can make. But really, over the last 4 years, started a company, and off of that company, we've started another 4 companies. So there's a lot that goes on in my daily routine. But other than that, man, just went from feeding one person to 189 families. So there's a lot that goes on in my world.
So 180, that's how many employees you got across all your companies right now?
Correct. So that's with their families. So that's counting employees plus their families.
Man, that is a lot of mouths to feed. Where are we at, Austin? Maybe 5?
Yeah, we got 5 or 6. I don't know, maybe more if you count pets, but
yeah. Yeah. So tell us about each of your companies. I want to hear a little bit more about that before we dive into the really talking about the gold nuggets of all that.
For sure. Starting out, when I dropped out of school, I was about 14 years old. Was into farming. I had cows, chickens. So that's really where it all started. I was selling eggs, selling milk. That entrepreneur spirit of, hey, where's the next dollar? Where can I make more money? Did that for a little while. Got into some commercial roofing. Helped on the farm. Was making about $250 a week. Then I decided to go out and work commercial roofing with my uncle for about 6 months. Didn't really like that. I came home, and that's when I started a manufactured construction company. This was 18. Just decided, hey, I was 18 years old, chasing money. What's that next dollar that I can make? And we'll go into that a deeper conversation of chasing money and all that. But as a young entrepreneur, you're looking for that next level. Up level your life. Hey, where's that next dollar? Started that, took off. First 3 years of building that company, it was went through a lot, but that's truly where I learned the most. Is when I stepped into that instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity at the perfect time, because the perfect time doesn't come. Yeah. You have to step into it, because failure is where you learn, and that's where I've learned how to do business, how to how to help other people win, and the importance of finding your why. And that was starting a company, and I always wanted to make a difference. And for me, it was how it works. Now it's starting more companies, because putting those players into place, helping me grow. Because I knew back in 18, it was just me and some of my family members. But now it's like, who's that next person? Not the how, but the who. Yeah. Who's the next person that we can hire to get us to the next level? So now we've grown that since 18 to an 8-figure company, and off of that, we've started 3 other companies: a transportation company, we have a resale, we have a buyback company, and then we have a real estate company that we most of the profits and all the cash flow that we make off our business goes back into our real estate. So we're just kind of building a big portfolio, you could say.
Yeah. Man, I want to hone in. You talked about how there's no perfect time to start. Being in this business and talking to a lot of people, I hear a lot of people say, "Man, I'm going to wait till this. I'm going to learn. I'm going to wait till I get some more knowledge. I'm going to wait till blah blah." All these excuses. Man, tell us like I know it's kind of a silly question, but how do you get started? As Jocko Wilkins says, you get started by taking that step. Just start. So tell us about that. Kind of dive into that question on there is no perfect time to start.
There's no perfect time, and I always say I've got people that always come up to me and is like, "Hey, when's the perfect time to start real estate? Is it I'm going to wait till the market crashes, or I'm going to wait to do that business till I go on YouTube and watch 200 hours of videos?" But really, where you learn is jumping into it. It's all risky, but to win, you have to be risky. You have to take that next step, and you have to take that big leap in thinking. But you have to believe in the process before you can become it. To believe it before you can become it. And when you do that, when you jump into it, I from a great education about to now having a company that's over 8 figures, multiple company that 3 other companies that are doing over 7 figures from an 8th grade education. So there is no perfect time. The time is now. And with the recession and everything going on, people are like, well, I'm going to wait till the market's down or whatever. But there's so many opportunities that you can jump on if you go out there and you just jump into it. And all I say is, I mean, that's how I did it is I surrounded myself. I put the right kind of scaffolding around myself to get me to that next level, because right now is the perfect time. There's never going to be the perfect time except for right now. And that's what I did is we reinvested back into myself. And I always say, and I'll drop some gold nuggets, your mind is the most important real estate to invest in. That's what gets you to the next level.
Man, that's pretty deep. Your mind is the most important real estate to invest in.
Yeah, I like that.
That's been my key go-to since I started, because back in August 24th, 2021, I had we had the company, of course. We started other companies, but I was not in real estate. And this is a perfect example of perfect timing or not. Doesn't matter where the economy was or not. Went to a conference. 3 days after I walked out of that conference, I bought my first real estate deal. I jumped into it. I bought it. 30 days later, we're closing. But going into that deal, I didn't know how to do real estate. I didn't know how to do a contract. I didn't even think that I had the money, because it was about a $200,000 deal. But I jumped into it, and I've learned more jumping into it than if I would have waited. And I would just watched all the YouTube videos and all that, which is great content on YouTube. And hopefully this brings some content to people to take that next step, because when you take that next step, that's where you actually learn.
Yeah, dude, I love you said you just jumped in. So I called Austin the other day, and I'm reading this book right now, and it had a page from the book, and it talked about the 5 failures of level. It had level 1, the ability to fail. Everybody can do that. It talked about level 2, the willingness to fail. These are people that, they kind of understand. They're like, okay, I have to fail. I'm willing. And then level 3 is the wantingness. These people, like, they've experienced, they're like, ooh, okay, I got a small taste. I want to fail if that means I'm going to learn. And you've got level 4, failing bigger and faster. And then you've got level 5, failing exponentially. And right here, it talks about level 5 is the final level, is for those rare individuals who understand that massive success requires multiplication of effort. And I asked Austin, I said, where do you think we're at based off of those 5 levels? And so, we kind of chatted, we kind of talked about that, but bringing up those 5 levels, I mean, there's probably no doubt about it. You're in that level 5, I'm guessing.
For sure. I mean, I think most people don't finish something or accomplish that goal question before they even started. And that those people that don't finish let the doubt and all that stuff come in their mind. That's the reason they don't start. They're not, let me watch. I need to learn a little bit more about this before I fail, because failure is risky. But the people that win are the people that people notice. So if you don't want to be risky, then you could be like everybody else, dress like them, eat like them, go out and watch a movie, go out and party, whatever. But over the last 5 years, I have dedicated my evenings to, hey, what's that next step that I can learn to get to that next 1%, up level 1% every single. That's the way I look at life.
Say that again. 1%. It kind of cut out for a second.
Up level your life 1% every single day. That's only 1%. If you can up level your 1% every day, it gets you to that life that you always dreamed about. And that's taking that step. That's doing stuff that you don't, that's risky or it's scary or whatever. But that's what gets you to the next step.
1% every day.
Yeah.
Man,
Atomic Habits.
yeah, I love it. Man, I want to dive deeper into that. Just upload, just because I heard somebody say, you don't achieve massive goals through having the goals. You achieve it through your day-to-day actions and what goes into those days, and just kind of upgrading every single day. And I know you mentioned how you go to these conferences, and one of my struggles is analysis paralysis. You learn all this stuff, and it's like, well, crap, where do I begin? And so I heard a quote. I want my boy Eric Thomas, man. I love that dude. He dropped some awesome gold nuggets, and he I want to say I was listening to a podcast this morning, and he said if you hit an oak tree in 1,000 different spots, nothing happens. But if you hit it in 1,000 times in one spot, you cut it down. So what I get out of that, so what I get out of that is that ability to focus. There's a lot of opportunity out there to go make money. But there's also another quote that lines up with that. The person who chases two rabbits catches neither. You need to focus on one at a time. Can you give us some gold nuggets on just how you stay focused, even though there's other opportunity out there?
Be sniper focused on what your niche is. I'm in a manufacturing company, and I could go out there and build all these, different custom designs on tiny homes, but we stick with what we're good at and what we can manufacture the quickest. That's the way I look at it. What are you good at? What's your niche, and what is your why? Go back to your why is, what are you good at? And that's always what I go back is, you have those distractions. You have the stuff on Instagram, YouTube, and all these entrepreneurs that are doing real estate, fix and flips, wholesale, whatever it is. You're even doing something different than I am. And that's when I told you I stick with what I'm good at. And a lot of people, I think that's where they get lost or distracted, is it's because they're looking, oh, I want that life. I want to do what they're doing because something is working. But what they don't realize is, when you go off all those bunny trails, and I call them bunny trails because we have executive meetings every Friday. If we go off of bunny trails, you don't get nothing done. It doesn't, it's just BS trails that you go off on. And it's actually not the objection. The objection is what good at and what is your way. And that's always what I look at is, what am I good at? And what are my goals at the end of the year? What do I need to do today to get that done, to make sure at the end of the year my goals are accomplished?
Man, that's awesome. Now I know you mentioned focusing on what you're good at. Well, what are you good at? Tell us some of your strengths. Like, what are some of your strengths?
Some of my mine is visionary. I'm a big dreamer. I'm good at going out networking, getting people in. That's really what I love, and I love real estate. Coming into construction, is it something that I loved doing? I actually had no background in construction. I went and bought some materials for a storage building. It was a 12 by 16. 12 by 16 storage building. It took me 3 weeks to build. We actually perfected that. Now we can build it in about 6 hours from basically completion. So was I the person to take it to there? No, but getting the people in place. So my job and my dream is to build a team and bring them together, because now if I can help them win, that's a win for me, because now instead of only me going home and sleeping good and having that win, if 2 people can go home and have a win and sleep good, that's when I know I can sleep good. That peace factor, that, hey, I'm not worried about just myself. I'm worried about, hey, if I can have 2 people go home and sleep good, that's a big win for me. So that's my mission, my goal, my why is to go out there and make as much money as I can. I love giving back. I love going overseas. We're actually going to Ukraine here in April with one of our good friends, Chris Crone. I got his shirt on. Really good conference. That's where I learned everything about real estate. So my big why, giving back is huge for me, because it's where I find my happiness, is the chance to give back. It's really where I'm focused on.
I love that. Man, so I know you just mentioned like your strengths being a visionary and finding the people to go integrate that. Like you just talked about, it took 3 weeks to build that, but now you've gotten it to 6 hours and you made the comment, I had that vision, but you'd said that somebody else kind of integrated it. So like I reread this book, The Rocket Fuel, talking about like you got these massive visionaries, but you always need an integrator. How does that work in your life?
It's finding not how, but who. Find the what, not the how. The person that gets you to the next level is your who. Who's that person? I think the book is called Who Not How.
Yeah.
Instead of me trying to find out the how do I do it, find my who. Who's that person? If I want to get in real estate, who's my who? Who's
Yeah.
someone that's already doing it? And I think you've even, I think we went over the lunch that we had. How you learn how to do real estate is you were learning from someone else. So finding your who, somebody that's already doing it. So if you're getting started in real estate and if you're wanting to get in it, find someone that's already doing it. Find your who that gets you to know about, get you inside of something. You don't have to start out buying your own real estate or building a company or any of that. You can save yourself 4 years, go work for someone else, find your who, and then that's how you go. That's exactly what I did. Now I spend over 6 figures on myself every year on coaching, my scaffolding, to save me years over years of time to skip all that stuff that I could learn by myself, but I'd rather pay for it right now because what I want in 5 years, I have to do today's work to be able to get there in 5 years.
I agree. Who, not how. Man, there's a lot of power in that. I just called Austin this morning. I had a call with one of our coaches. We're paying him a pretty good check. It's a big check, but what are we, Austin? We're probably close to 6 figures this year in what we spent on our education. And I told him, man, what I just learned off of this hour call just helped me save 5 years of felon. Because we're getting into the real estate market where we're starting to make a lot of creative finance and sub 2 offers where you can basically buy a house with not having to bring a ton of cash. And the way that he was able to structure that, I was like, you realize what you just told me would have probably took me 5 years to figure out. And it's so funny because just like what you just said, a lot of times these coaches that you hire, and I think that's one of the biggest gold nuggets that we talk about every single episode is who are some of the coaches. And what's so funny to me, Kyler, is sometimes when the coach teaches me something really simple, what's funny is how simple it is, but I would have never even thought that without them telling me. It's like, are you kidding me?
The greatest thing to know is the thing you don't know.
Yes. The greatest thing to know is what you don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, that's, yeah.
And that's what the coaches teach you is you don't know it. But if you can go into a call with a coach and you can be a listener and just listen, let them coach you and be willing to change. Change is hard for sure. I'm 23 years old. Change for me is not as hard as for some people, but still change. You're like, that's, it's not even that big. Like, that's just, is that all I have to change to become that next, to get to real estate or whatever it is? Most of the time it's easy fixes or it's easy, just simple things that get you where you need to go in life. So yeah, the greatest thing to know is the thing you don't know. And a lot of people don't want to hear that because of their ego. But what I had to figure out is for our company, we had one of my coaches, personal coaches, she said that I have to let my ego push me instead of drive me. Put it behind myself, let it push me instead of be in front of me. So in order to do that, you have to be able to, if you're a speaker, and that's what I'm wanting to do, is you have to learn what your audience, as not teach them, I don't have to go out there and do a sales pitch. How can I teach them? So ego versus, pushing yourself versus driving you.
Dude, I like that. Man, one of the most powerful presentations I've ever been a part of, Nick Sanantosio. Have you ever heard of him? He's
haven't.
He's a speaker, a motivational speaker. And before he came on stage, the guy that was presenting him was talking about, he said, how are your people? How's the audience? How are they feeling? What's the vibe? And, I remember when he was, because exactly what you just said, like you don't want to go out there and give a sales pitch. Like how can you, what does the audience want? And giving presentations off of that. And man, that's just powerful right there. I love that. Man.
Yeah, if you have to go out there and convince them if you have to go out there and convince them versus just what is your audience wanting, what are they, what can I come out there and give some good content for them. So
Yeah.
I'm just here to serve. I love doing this. I love podcasting. I love just, what can I give back now? Everything that I've learned over the last 4 years, how can I give it back?
Yeah.
And because I'm still learning myself, do I know everything about real estate? Do I know everything about business? I learn something new every single day. It's crazy because I've been doing it for 4 years, but I literally learn something new every day. And I'm like, wow, if I'd only known this 4 years ago, I'd be like, where would I even be? But now, I was just before we got in this podcast, I was with an investor. He's been in oil and gas all his life, and we were talking about investments, and he's got some investments that are 35% cash on cash right now.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, he was like, where you're at now, where he's at, and where I'm at personally. He's like, with everything that I know, where can I be in 25 years? So that's just, surrounding yourself with the right people, your scaffolding and networking. Your networking is your net worth. That's what I always go back to.
I love that. I love that. So, talking about like, trying to get to that next level, is there anything specifically you're doing right now to challenge yourself?
I challenge myself every day. Where can I better myself? Where can I have a better routine? How can I, because a lot of where I'm at right now, I'm shifting because I'm at the point where we're hiring more people, better people in our company, culture and all of that to, when you start a company, you never get to the place where you'd be like going from a person that works in the business now outside the business, be an actual owner of the company. So now I'm at the point where basically I've replaced myself in everything that I do. So now it's like, what's my role? What's my why? And it's showing up for these people. And because now I've got 189 people, families, total people to feed. So that's really, that's the up level my life is to continue to learn every single day because now I've got families to feed and I've got a big why behind myself.
Yeah, that's what my coach has not quite as many as you, but he has like 30 people on his team, and he talks about how like your employees become your clients, not the public anymore. So I'm guessing that's kind of where you're at, is like the employees are your new clients, and just trying to focus on bettering their culture.
It is. It's bringing them awareness of where they're at because I've got some employees that are making over six figures. So it's coming in there and not just giving them fish, but teaching them how to fish. So you can start a company and you can just give them money, but it doesn't fix anything. But if you can teach them how to fish instead of just handing them fish, because maybe in 15 years or 10 years, it depends on what my exit is. I have to teach them what I can leave them with. My legacy is teach them how to fish, teach them how to go out there and invest their money. That's what you have to do. And that's the biggest failure in a lot of companies I see is culture. It's because they just come in here and they think it's the money, but it's not. People leave because they don't feel valued. People don't feel like they're appreciated, but you can give them all the money in the world and they still leave. So my biggest focus is, on when these employees come in. I've got employees, youngest one I've got 16. He's a dropout. He's one of my brothers. He's well over making over six figures. He dropped out 7th grade. He just quit and was like, this in the real world, this is where you learn how to do business, how you do everything. And here we teach you how to fish, how to invest your money, how to reinvest back into yourself, coaching, scaffolding, all that kind of stuff. That's the goal, is to teach people how to fish.
Man, I love that. That is so powerful. Man, I wanna hear more about a time that a lot of people hear people like you talk about like they're doing all this stuff and they hear all the good side of things. But what's a time like? Is there ever a time that you felt like, man, I can't do this, and what did you do to get past that?
I was thinking about the other day because there's still days when, man, if you're driving I drive down the road and I think, that's where I do my thinking. But there's some days where, man, you want to just give up and be like, man, it's just not worth it. Go back to living an employee life. 5 days a week, go party on the weekends and go have your fun and do it all over 5 days again and live paycheck to paycheck. Because now with what I know, I can go easily make 150K a year. Live that easy life. Or, I mean, there's a lot of times where, I get to a point where, man, I just want to give up. But that's when that why kicks in. That's when I'm like, hey, I've got to show up for my people because they're dependent on me to show up, because if I don't show up, then who's going to show up? So there's a lot of times, and that's what brings me back, is the people that I've helped, the people that I could give back to. We donated over 6 figures to Ukraine. That's huge, because I had the chance to do that. And that's what always brings me back when I'm in just because, and like you said, you see a lot of people that have had a lot of success, but don't like, they have bad days too. Like I get to a point where, I just want to quit, but that's where, like I said, that why brings me back, always brings me back.
Yeah, so that's why I started this podcast, because we hear a lot of cliches like man, let your why drive you, and that it's super powerful. But I like to de-cliche it by making it tangible. So what I mean by that is, when somebody says let your why be the reason that pushes you, like how can somebody implement that? And I know that's a loaded question, but how do you take your why and let it push you? Like, how can somebody listen to this episode and go implement that?
To give you an example, Justin and I, we have bi-weekly meetings, monthly meetings, and like annual meetings. And at our annual meeting, we always we probably spend a few hours diving into our why. Like, what do we want our life to look like? How do we want it to look like? How are we going to get there? And like, we'll dive really, really deep, dig really, really hard, and water it down to, a couple of key things. And we'll put it everywhere. We put it on our phones, on our calendars, on our vision boards, and right in front of our screensavers, so we see it every single day. And one of our drivers that he and I have is like, we don't want to regret one day being in a situation, maybe not having done all the work. And we're like, we don't want our grandparents to be in the hospital. We can't help them. We can't be there and do that. And so, like, anytime that we're having one of those days, super stressed out, I don't really want to do this anymore, we see that come across our screen, we're like, let's make the call, let's do the deal, let's do whatever we got to do. Because when that's in front of our face, I mean, there's no reason we're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just to give you an example. That's what we do to kind of track our stuff.
Well, and from an accountability perspective too, like if me and Austin say, hey, this is our goals, because we have what we call Crush the Week every Monday. We write out our big 3. What are we going to accomplish? And if one of us doesn't accomplish it by Friday, I'm going to say, hey, dude, I can't help my parents retire. That's my why. If you don't do your thing, you don't do your stuff. Because like, that's one of my whys, is I want to be able to help my parents retire. And I'm able to look at Austin and say, if you don't do your part, you're affecting my parents' retirement. And so we're able to dive into our why. That's what I mean. That's how I de-cliche it. Like, that's how we make it tangible, and that's how we implement that every day. I know we just kind of rambled, and I know that's a loaded question, but how do you de-cliche that?
When you jump into it, you have to put regret and all that into, you don't want to be on your deathbed and ask all those questions of regret, because when you leave here, U-Haul is never behind a hearse. Once you die, you're dead.
Yeah.
So what you have to have that hour talk with yourself and find out, what's your purpose? What's your purpose on this earth, and what's your vision? What do you want out of life? Because you can have what you want. Believe it before you can become it. You have to first believe before you can become it. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, once you find your vision, and once you find your why, what that purpose is, what you want out of life, then you put that to work. Then you jump into it. What's important to you? And when you find that purpose, you jump into it and take that leap, take that risk. Because like I said, go live your life the way you want to. I was 18 years old making $250, and I was like looking for the next dollar. And when I was 18, I was whatever. But now it's bigger than money. But that's how it all started, is when I was chasing money. When you chase money, money runs. Yeah. But when you attach a why to it, it's not about the money anymore, because now it's just reward. It's something that you get rewarded with. And that's exactly how it turned out. Is I wanted money, but now it's a bigger picture. It got me where I'm at today, but now it's just bigger for me. My why got bigger. So your why can change over time. Yes. Of why you want to do something. Once you help your family, you still have to have a why. And I think if you don't have a why, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's, a lot of people, retirement, I'm going to retire when I'm 26, but when I mean retirement, I'll be able to go where I want to and get to do what I want to. I don't have to show up to work. I get to show up to work. When you're able to do that, that's freedom. When you get to do a podcast like this, when you get to put content back in the world, when you get to invest back into other people. That's my why, is to bring that financial freedom to people, how to jump into your why, how to find that best version of yourself. And you have to sit down with yourself and have that honest conversation. When I'm 60 years old, where do I want to be in life? Have that honest conversation with yourself, because what you do today determines how your future will turn out.
Yeah.
And that's how I looked at my whole life, is where do I want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Wherever I want to be, I have to do it today, because in order to get there, I have to do it today, because time, it's already the end of the year. It's crazy. So you have to move on, or the train's going to leave you behind. That's just it. And I don't want to leave this world not leaving a legacy and having full of regret. I want to live life to the fullest, because that's who God intended me to become.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love how you said the why is always changing. And attaching a why to the money, that I haven't heard it said like that. I love that, because the why does change, but I think as you grow, your why also matures too. But the important part is having the why, because if you would have asked me 5 years ago what my why was, I probably would have been like, man, I want to own a Lambo. But now my why is attached to family, and now when I can retire my parents, I'm going to have a bigger why. Like, okay, well then how many people can I help retire? And it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. But I think the important part isn't necessarily what your why is, but more of attaching a why, because I think it matures over time, because there is no one gold nugget that says, hey, this is the why you have to have. I think it's just having a why, and it always maturing, and always the same way you constantly, like you said, the best real estate to invest in is your mind. It's the same thing with your why, like always investing in that, improving, and it always maturing. And so that's some good stuff. And then how you said, like, that's who God made you become. I love that, because like kind of understanding your purpose and what you're meant to do. And I think a lot of people, you don't understand your purpose until you dive in and start figuring it out. Like there's a lot of people that think, okay, I'm going to wait for the motivation to get started. But in all reality, sometimes getting started produces the results that give you the motivation. And it's through those trials and errors that give you your purpose and passion. And so for me, like I had no clue how passionate I would be about real estate until I just dove in.
Yeah, I was super, super passionate. Ever since I started back in August of last year, and I always go back to, you don't have to be great to start something. You have to start something to be great at it. And once you do that, you have to start it. You don't have, like I said, when I got into real estate and when I got into business, I had no clue how to do it. But I learned pretty fast when I started putting myself around the right kind of scaffolding to get me to the right place. So investing back into myself, because it's the most important real estate. And once you do that, like I said, I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a GED. Didn't go to college. I believe in all that, but is it necessary to get to do real estate and all that? I don't believe so, because I can show you with my success, 8-figure company, and multiple 7-figure companies. You don't have to have that. What you need is to have that courage to go and invest money back in yourself, because that first event I went to was, $3,000. Back then I wasn't making that much money. And now I'm spending over 6 figures. And a lot of people on the show is probably, I don't know what kind of audience you have, but spending 6 figures back into yourself, that's someone's salary. But that's how much I value myself, how much I'm worth.
We had a guy.
When you find your,
I'm sorry, you can keep going.
When you find out what your worth is, you'll invest everything you have back in yourself. Because now when you have that confidence to invest back in yourself, then you have the confidence to go make that first deal.
I love it. There's a quote I keep, says, be persistent enough to produce a result that helps you change the limiting beliefs. And so it's kind of what you're saying is, sometimes you got to dive in and get that result to help you feel confident. I love it. Man,
yeah, that's what it took to get me to where I'm at. It's turning your limiting beliefs into limitless beliefs. So write down what your audience can do today is write down 10 limiting beliefs and turn those into limitless beliefs. And when you do that, it changes your whole mindset, because your mindset is the only thing is the wall that's stopping you from getting to the next level. It's when you jump and you break that wall, it's game on. Because that's when you jump into it.
Yeah, no, I wanna hone in on that, because a lot of times what happens is when you write down those limiting beliefs and turn it into limitless beliefs, a lot of times when you focus on that, I like to call it the 5 whys, like each limiting belief, like, why can't I do that? And what happens is when you actually spend time on that, what your biggest external factor is just a gap in knowledge. If that's all that's affecting you, then you go out there and learn and get the knowledge. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, it's not as hard as you think to go do it.
It goes back to how we grew up. My parents, if we couldn't afford it, and this goes to a lot of families. It's just the way you grow up. Where you're from 3 years to 7-year-old, you get that. Hey, we can't afford that. We can't buy that. But now, when you shift that mindset, you break that mindset, you break that wall. Instead of saying I can't afford that, change the question? How can I afford that? Because now, when you say I can't afford it, your mind stops you from all that dreaming that I said I'm good at. That's what when you say I can't, then your mind stops. You're not even thinking. Instead of when you do, how can I afford that? Now your mind's racing on, what's that next real estate deal I can do? What's that thing that's pushing me to the next level? Because now that how, I'm going to find how I can afford that. How afford a $300 car? How can I afford that $2 million jet? How can I afford that next deal? Because it's a better question. Ask better questions.
Yeah, when you ask dumb questions, you get dumb answers. I like it.
Exactly.
If you ask why me, what kind of question are you going to get? Versus imagine asking yourself, who am I going to become by going through this? Instead of asking why me. I heard one of my coaches told me, let's play a game real quick. Pretend your mind is a garden. If you plant apple seeds in it, what are you going to get? It's going to grow apples. If you plant potatoes, what are you going to get? Potatoes. And if you plant crap, what are you going to get? Even though it's technically a fertilizer, but the moral of the story is, if you ask yourself dumb questions, you're going to get dumb answers.
You're going to get dumb answers for sure.
Yeah.
It's like the flower. If a flower doesn't bloom, do you blame the flower? Do you blame the flower, or do you blame its environment?
Yeah. A lot of times
you could sow that seed, that potato, but if it doesn't grow, do you blame the seed? Do you blame the potato, or do you blame its environment? Who's the 5 people that you surround yourself with? So you could take that story and you could ask the dumb questions and all that, but then take it into account. If you do plant that and you don't get it, you don't get nothing in return. Ask the question, why am I not getting? Am I blaming myself? Am I blaming the seed, or am I blaming its environment? Who's the 5 people that you surround yourself with every single day? Because those are you're going to be the sick. If you hang around millionaires, you'll be the sick. If you hang around broke people, you'll be the sick. So who's the 5 people that you surround yourself with every single day? Who are you associating with?
Mm-hmm. I heard something that said the 5 people you surround yourself with determine 95% of your success or failure. That really opens your mind. So there's I told Austin, there's what's called the 33% rule. The bottom 33% of people who just drain the energy out of you. The middle 33% are the people that they're fun to hang out with, but they let circumstances dictate how they feel. And the top 33% are the people that are you, who are like, no matter what the circumstances are, I'm going to keep going. You need to surround yourself with those people, because that's exactly what you just said. Whoever you surround yourself with. If you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. Like with the potato, it needs to be in the right environment. And that's a huge gold nugget. A lot of times your lack of success isn't necessarily a mindset or a technical issue. It's who you're hanging out with. Just simply surround yourself with more millionaires and watch what happens. You don't need to go learn as much. They're going to show you all the short gaps. And that's why we pay for the coaches. I'm paying for a better environment. I think that's, out of all the gold nuggets we can talk about, just changing your environment. And I think people take that for granted.
You have to. If you're hanging around people, it's just at a certain point, you're at the point where, you're hanging around it can be family members or whoever. But if they're not the level that you want to become, where you want to go, you have to change your set of friends. You have to start hanging out with the people that are doing real estate. What are you looking at? And that's where I said to go find, if you want to get into real estate, if you want to get into business, go find your who. Go find someone that's already doing it and associate with them, because they're going to get you in rooms that your parents or your family friends are not going to get you in. And when you can do that, man, the opportunity right now is ridiculous, because it's that mindset change. You have to want something, you have to want something bigger. Think bigger.
I love it. I want to, you just said like surrounding yourself with people is going to get you in rooms that you couldn't have got in without them. And man, literally just yesterday, I was on a Zoom call with 5 people who have been guest speakers on like huge events. And we were talking about a 54 unit apartment complex deal that they're going to, if they get the deal, they're going to let us be a part of it, and they're going to fund it, and they're going to buy this deal all cash. And I only have access to that because of the coaching. If I was out doing it on my own, like, I would have never gotten to you just said the room. My room was that Zoom call where we spent an hour analyzing that deal and talking to me directly. So like, I mean, yeah, I can speak truth to that. Like, man, the rooms that open up, the doors that open up just by dropping that check with the coaches, people take that for granted all day long.
For sure. And I think what sets a successful investors apart from those who give up or fail or never start is the key to the imperfect action applied at speed. There's a difference between successful investors versus non-successful investors that just quit. And you were going, what makes you come back from that? But that's the motivation behind it, is your why. But no, it's the rooms you get into. Ever since I started getting into rooms and real estate and all that is when it all started changing. My life started changing because I started thinking bigger, think bigger.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of thinking bigger, so before I joined my first coaching group, I was like, man, I had this whole layout of how I was going to make $1 million, and I had it spread out over a 10-year goal. And I joined my coaching group, and they were like, why don't you do that by next year? And I was like, well, hold on a second. I had this as a 10-year goal. Just that one question of like, well, why are you waiting 10 years? And they laid it out. And was like, this is how you can make $1 million within the next 12 years in real estate. And they started showing it to me, and I was like, wait, the mindset at which you can dream just by simply having somebody that's already done it. I mean, that alone. Tell me.
And when you go ahead,
I was just going to say, tell me about that. Like, what are some people you've been around that just changed your whole mindset on the goals you have?
Believing in myself. Putting that confidence back into myself, but thinking that, hey, I deserve that life that God put me on this earth to become. You don't think that you deserve it, but when you put that worth back into yourself, you have to value yourself. And that's the first thing you have to do is how valuable is your time, and then start thinking bigger. If you want to, we had 100% growth in our company. Starting 4 years ago, I was like, this never can happen. But that was the limiting belief that was stopping me from achieving that goal, is thinking I can't get to there. It's just a stupid number. Mm-hmm. But it's not. Believe it before you can become it. That's a hard word to say. You have to break through that. It's like a ridiculous number. But when you shift your mindset from that, it's anything is possible. Dream big. Think big, and goes back to the rooms that you're in, the scaffolding that you have around you, and the 5 people that you surround yourself with. If they're the right people, they will push you to the next level, and they'll make you think bigger, and they'll get you because they're thinking bigger. So when you surround yourself with those people, you automatically have to think bigger, and that's what got me to the next level, is just thinking bigger and what's it going to take to get to the next level.
I love that. Dude, I could, if we weren't on a time schedule, I could probably talk about this stuff for 4 hours. But man, just kind of changing gears real quick. I want to bring up a quote, a little bit more on the tangible side. So I'm reading a book right now, and it says a life without systems is a life where the person must face every task and challenge from scratch. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I know with all the companies and all the people, you've got to be big on systems and processes. And so even growing your personal growth, managing a company, the way I go to the gym, systems and processes, because I'm gonna re-say that quote. A life without systems is a life where the person must face every task and challenge from scratch. And so, the reason that's important is because, to dive even deeper into that quote, is, systems permit ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results predictably. And the reason I love that is because it allows your brain to operate at higher and higher and higher levels, because the more habits you can put your brain in autopilot, the more you could focus on the next task. And so for example, my system, every time I'm listening to a podcast, I have a little notes where I type it. And then on Mondays, I update it into my podcast little note section. So it's just a simple system. But I want to hear some of your systems on, like, that you've put into place to help you keep growing.
Systems and processes are a big success to any company. Like, if you want to grow a company to 8-figure, 9-figure, that's how growth happens. And the way you do that is, if you wouldn't, I don't think it can't be duplicatable. So when you build that system or process for all that stuff to run without yourself, and that's having the right people, we call it right people, right seat. When you put those people in place, I can go, now I can go to the beach for 2 weeks, and I don't have to worry about if that manufacturing company is going to survive or not. I know that stuff's going to get done. So when you build out those systems and processes, and I go back to who, not how. Am I the person that builds that process, or am I the person that brings in the people that know how to build those processes?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to know everything to start a company. You just have to have the right people in the right seat to get you to that successful 8-figure, 9-figure company, whatever it is. Because those people, those good team players on your team, will get you to the next level. And that's how we have the system processes now. We update them daily. We're always thinking of new ideas, and like I said, we're teaching our team how to think, how to think like a leader. Think how do we, instead of us fixing or figuring out all the solutions to a problem, ask your team members, your main key players, ask them, hey, what would you do in this situation? Because what you're doing is you're teaching them. If I'm out on vacation, or if I'm out doing some other thing in another business, now you're teaching them how to take a leadership role, how to step up when times get tough.
Mm-hmm.
Step up when I'm not here, whatever it is, they can step in. So that's really the success that we've had, is putting right people, right seat. And over the last 4 years, now with hiring, that's the most important, because when you start a company, we would hire anybody and everybody because we were desperate. When you get in that desperate mode, you want to hire anybody because culture and all that sound important. But I'm gonna tell you right now, one bad apple can make them all bad.
Yeah.
So we're very, very tight on, having right people, right seat. And if you're not the right person for the right seat, then we either got to demote you, we got to put you somewhere else, or we don't have a room for you. Mm-hmm. Because it's very crucial to everybody else to keep that going, because we have families to feed and we have a company to grow. So that's system of processes is very big in business and construction and even real estate. That's determines on whether you're successful or not.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, this past Thursday I was on a call with one of my coaches. He owns 80 companies. And the reason I point out how many companies he owns is the amount of systems and processes he has is hundreds of miles ahead of what I even need. And so sometimes when you're just getting started, you don't need all that. It needs to be simple. And so, like, for somebody who's just getting started, your system can be get business, do business, get paid. That's all you need to focus on. And then as you get a deal, now you can go create some sub charts below. But if you haven't done your first deal, it's get business, do business, get paid. So in the real estate business, get leads, make offers, get paid. And that could be your process. Can you speak a little on just the simplicity of that and how it grows? Because I'm sure you can get a little overwhelmed with creating processes that you don't even need because you're not even at that next level yet.
For sure. Yeah. It's like right now when you go from a 7-figure company to 8-figure company in a year's time, you learn a lot. So you learn the stuff that doesn't work and the stuff that does work. But what we've seen work is creating levels of leadership. You have your top guy and then the guy underneath it and another guy underneath it in each role. But creating those processes, when it first started out, I got to go buy the product, buy the raw materials, I got to build it, and I've got to have a commercial and deliver it, pay. But now it changes, it shifts every time. Now you're thinking of all different ways to now what does it need to change to? Because markets shift, everything's always shifting, and we're always growing. If you want to grow and you want to stay in business, you have to change with where the market's headed to. So we're always, and like I said, go back to the right people, right seat, because those people see it coming. You have the right marketing team. So now it's branding, now it's marketing, now it's selling. And once the building is, once the cabin or tiny home or whatever is sold, now how can we retarget that customer? What else can we sell it? So you're having a different process every time, and you're just building your company all up and up and up. So it's a learning process, and that's go back to jumping into something. Like you don't learn everything the first day. You learn it that's where you get the experience. I wouldn't change what I do for nothing, because the stress and the risk and everything, it's just what I love to do. So I just got a big passion for it.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Okay, so I got one more question. I like to always end on this question, just kind of wrapping things up. But man, are there any questions we haven't asked that you felt like we should have asked that cover one more topic, or what do you think?
Man, we went over a lot of stuff. Like I said, I hope I brought some good content to your listeners, and hopefully we can, if I can help one person get past that block or that mindset shift or whatever. If I can help one person, that's all that I can go home and sleep good. My peace factor will be up. But hopefully your listeners will get something out of this podcast.
Awesome, man. Kyler, I appreciate you. That's some good stuff. I feel like this is one of those episodes that people need to go back and listen to multiple times and write down some notes and go implement, because a lot of times it's not necessarily the technical side, it's kind of on the mindset side of just taking action and surrounding yourself with people. But man, that's awesome.
Yep. Hey, I appreciate you having me on the show, and it's always been an honor. It's like I said, we just met the other day, but there's definitely something. Definitely, I like to surround myself with like-minded people, like-minded mindsets. Definitely is a plus.
For sure. Kyler, before we let you go, do you want to tell anybody that's listening where they could maybe learn a little bit more about you or find out anything about your companies?
Yeah, they can. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Kyler.Croft. Maybe you can put it in the under the memo or somewhere on the podcast where they can find me on my Instagram or Facebook, and I'm posting there. I'm actually getting my content up, starting to post more. So yeah, go find me there. And if they got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm glad to help.
Absolutely.
We'll put that in any value where I can.
Absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes.